It's 5:30 a.m. in San Diego. The sun barely peeks over the horizon as a young William McRaven crawls out of his bunk, stiff and sore from 30 grueling hours of Navy SEAL training. Before anything else, he makes his bed, tightly tucked sheets, hospital corners crisp enough to bounce a coin. It sounds trivial, almost laughable in the face of what's to come. But this one simple act unravels a secret: how small wins stack into monumental change. What starts here at the bottom of his bunk might just change the world. Curious how? Let's dive in. At first, making your bed feels pointless. You're soaked, exhausted, the day's just started. McRaven's first lesson. This tiny bit of discipline sets the tone. But why does it matter so much? Here's how one small task can flip your mindset and your life. During Navy SEAL training, McRaven was beaten down physically and mentally. Before each day's brutal routine, instructors demanded the beds be perfectly made. Some laughed at the triviality, until the instructors explained how a simple, completed task creates a chain reaction of success. The guys who made their beds every morning, no exceptions, finished stronger. After one hellish day, McRaven realized it wasn't about bed making. It was about control in chaos. But there was one story from his platoon that made it crystal clear. Think of life as a wild ocean. Your bed is the first ripple you control each morning. That small ripple spreads, steadying the waves, bringing order to chaos. Like a rower gripping their oars tight before a race, making your bed sets your course. Without it, the waves push you off path. With it, each success builds until you're slicing clean through any storm. McRaven found that the bed isn't just a bed, it's a metaphor, a launch pad. Because you've done something right before breakfast, you feel competent and ready for the next challenge. That ripple effect pushed men to finish SEAL training who otherwise would have quit. It's simple, but the insight, massive. Sometimes the smallest wins are the gates to heroism. Most people dodge failure like it's a plague, not SEALs. McRaven's training dumps you in mud deeper than you've ever known and expects you to finish. You fail, you learn, you get back up. How does embracing failure become your fiercest weapon? One grueling exercise called the crawl had trainees hauled belly down over rocks and razor-sharp shells at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. McRaven remembers junior SEAL candidate Glenn fighting cramps and fear, nearly giving up. Every time he fell behind, he had to push harder, face deeper pain. Glenn's failure wasn't fatal, it was fuel. He learned to adapt his breathing, his rhythm. But what happened when Glenn faced the final crawl would shock everyone in the unit. Imagine failure like pounding your fist on a locked door. Every thud teaches you something new. Maybe adjust angle, maybe try the window. The SEALs treat failure not as defeat but as data. You try, you fail, you analyze, you tweak. The feedback loop sharpens you like a blade. You slice through problems others crumble under. McRaven learned that every failure hardened his resolve. Instead of fear, he cultivated curiosity. What lesson is this moment teaching me? That mindset made him not just a survivor but a leader. Suddenly, failure wasn't a full stop. It was a powerful comma in his story, a breath before the next big sprint. A SEAL mission can't be solo. Your life depends on the person beside you. McRaven's tale shows how deep trust and camaraderie become the bedrock for victory. When you believe in your team, failure isn't just personal, it's communal, and that changes everything. In one infamous evolution at Bud S, 3 trainees sank during the log carry drill, howling with exhaustion. McRaven watched as teammates refused to abandon them. Swollen hands, raw muscles, yet no one left behind. It was brutal, but the raw human connection saved lives. That day, McRaven realized that no personal glory means anything if your team falls. But there was one unexpected twist when the instructors interrupted the drill that changed their mindset forever. Think of a spider's web, fragile at a single strand but remarkably strong when all fibers work in unison. Trust in a team is the glue holding that web together. When you trust, the load distributes. Individual cracks don't break the whole. Alone, a man falters. Together, the mission thrives, and trust is the silent force multiplying every effort. Years later, McRaven faced life-threatening crises where the only reason he survived was that people he'd trusted fought for him with everything. The lesson: success isn't solo achievement. It's shared sacrifice, collective courage. Trust isn't a soft word. It's a survival instinct, a force multiplier you cultivate daily. McRaven's journey is dotted with moments where raw courage wasn't enough. Humility was the hidden power. Leading others, especially in chaos and fear, means admitting you don't have all the answers. This creates strength others want to follow. During a deadly night mission in Iraq, McRaven found himself frozen. The fear was a wall too thick to climb, but instead of hiding it, he confessed it aloud, something no SEAL typically admits. That vulnerability diffused tension, opened honest exchange with his team, and sparked decisive action. Years later, that night was one of his proudest leadership moments, not because of glory, but because of the bonds it forged. Think of humility as a lighthouse in a brutal storm. It doesn't fight the waves, but steadfastly signals a safe path. Leaders who boast or pretend they're invincible only make the waves fiercer. But humble leaders create trust by showing their scars. They invite others to lean in, share the burden, and find collective courage. McRaven teaches that true bravery isn't about never feeling fear, but feeling it and steadily moving forward anyway. That quiet courage pushes teams past despair, failure, and chaos. It's the difference between a boss who commands and a leader who inspires, especially when the stakes couldn't be higher. The brutal truth: quitting always feels like the easiest option, but McRaven learned that the hardest moments hide undiscovered reserves of strength. The key: refusing to quit, no matter how bleak the horizon looks. On D-Day of training, trainees were dunked repeatedly in icy ocean water, muscles tightening, lungs screaming, minds shouting, "Stop!" McRaven watched friends break, shatter, surrender. But those who pushed through the ache and the cold made it out alive, and changed forever. One man's silent grit amid the teeth-chattering waves inspired the entire platoon to keep fighting. But how did that spirit emerge so ferociously in one mind while others crumbled? Picture a marathon runner hitting a wall, not just physical but mental. The mind can trick you into quitting before the body actually needs to. McRaven's training was designed to break the body and test if the mind could shout louder. Mental toughness is your brain's power to override pain and fear and whisper, "Not today." It's muscle you build through practice, relentless grit, and tiny victories. McRaven's ultimate lesson: strength doesn't come from never falling, but from standing up one more time than you fall down. That refusal to quit ripples outward. It transforms despair into determination. And suddenly, what felt impossible becomes just the next challenge to overcome. Your world can change before breakfast. Remember the bunk in San Diego? That crisp, made bed wasn't just neatness. It was the seed of a life lived by discipline and determination. McRaven's lessons show that the grandest missions begin with tiny steps. Try this tomorrow morning. Before your to-do list, make your bed exactly right. That one act will spark a chain reaction in your day, and maybe, just maybe, in your life. When you feel stuck, recall the story of Glenn in the mud or that frozen ocean and ask, what's the next small win? Keep going, the change starts here. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.